Hello, welcome to the Positive Posting Conversation, the show about how to have a better relationship with your dog and cat. I'm Zazie Todd, author of the books Bark, Wag and Purr, and creator of Companion Animal Psychology blog. My co-host, Kristi Benson, is a dog trainer and anthropologist, and she also works at the Academy for Dog Trainers. We can't give advice on your pet, so if you have concerns, see your dog trainer, cat behaviourist, or veterinarian as appropriate. Thanks for joining us today. Dr. Patricia McConnell is a much-loved animal behaviourist and author who's just turned her hand to writing fiction. Her first mystery novel, Away to Me, will be published on February 24th and is out for pre-order now, and she's here to tell us all about it. Welcome to the Positive Post in Conversation. I'm Zazie Todd, and I'm joined, as always, by my friend and colleague, Kristi Benson. Now, we first heard about Away to Me when we interviewed Dr. McConnell at Parkfest, and I don't know about you, Kristi, but I've been on tenterhooks ever since.
Yeah, same. Because I love dogs, obviously, and I love people who write about dogs. But I also adore mystery novels. So it's just like this. Oh, it's so nice when everything comes together. And it's also really nice, I think, as someone who loves dogs and loves reading, to know going in that there's not going to be, like the dog's not going to die, or there's not going to be something where someone's like, well, I'm his master, or something like that. That just makes you it takes you out of the story. So yeah, I was very excited.
I should just tell you that I had a thing with my editor, is she was distraught that I am making a point to let people know that no dog dies in the making of this novel. And I understand it. She was like, "You're giving away the plot." And I said, like, no, no, no. I'm allowing people to read it because if people think there's going to be a dog dying, they're not going to read it. Which, by the way, really interesting issue. You can kill off the good guys. You can kill off the bad guys. You can kill off Aunt Margaret. You can kill off your lover, but you cannot kill off a dog. And isn't it interesting? I mean, I just think that's fascinating. So that's a whole other essay that I will planning on writing. But it is something interesting for us to think about, isn't it?
Well, I agree. I think it was good going in, knowing that the dog was not going to die and that we were in safe hands there. And so, like I said, we're here with Dr. Patricia McConnell, who is an internationally renowned applied animal behaviorist who has dedicated her life to improving the relationship between people and animals. Amongst her many treasured dog training books, The Other End of the Leash draws our attention to the human side of dog training, and her memoir, The Education of Will, is a beautifully written and uplifting account of how to reclaim life after trauma for both humans and dogs. And so she's here today to tell us about her absolutely wonderful new book, Away to Me, which I loved and could not put down. And I'm just so excited to hear you talk about it because it's a wonderful, wonderful book. And like I said, it's available for pre-order now. So what made you decide to write a mystery novel?
Yeah, I'm an old lady now, and I was getting older and retiring from doing this and doing that. But I love to write. I love writing my nonfiction books, and some of my favorite parts of writing were the scenes. So I would tell a story and use that story to describe some aspect of our relationship or canine behavior. I love I love that part. And Christy, like you, and I think maybe Sassy, I love mysteries. I love reading them. I love fiction. I love good writing. I adore it. So I thought, I'm just going to play at writing fiction. And I had a scene in my head that just literally sort of cropped up like a piece of toast of a man getting shot at a sheepdog trial, which is chapter 1. I'm not giving anything away. It's in the flap cover. Not giving away the plot. And I just had this scene in my head, and I just started literally for the hell of it. I just started like, I'm just going to do this for fun. And I started pairing up with a brilliant writer, Kat Warren. I know you know who she is. A brilliant book. What the Dog Knows, New York Times bestseller. She taught writing. Turns out we sort of ran into each other, and she also decided to start writing fiction for the first time. So we wrote stuff, a chapter here and there, and would send it to each other. We actually talked to each other once a month for the last at least 4 years, as we continue to do. Anyway, so it just started as sort of fun. And then I got really into how to be a good fiction writer because it's a craft and it's really easy to write bad fiction and really hard to write good fiction. And I just got really into it. How do you do this? And that was my primary intention writing this book, is to write a good story, and that was very well written. That was my hope.
I think you achieved it.
Thank
So what
you.
can you tell us?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What can you tell us about your main character, Maddie McGowan?
Oh, Maddie McGowan. The first thing I want to say is I knew logistics. I knew Maddie McGowan would be in her mid-40s and she lived on a small farm. And because I was following the write what because so much of what I was doing, I didn't know. I don't know how to write fiction. It's really hard. I don't know anything I am really happy to say about murder. I don't know a lot about law enforcement and how they handle murder. So I thought, I'll write what I know. So Maddie lives on a small farm. She competes in sheep dog trials as a hobby. She's an animal behavior. She has a border collie and a sheep guarding dog named Bo Peep. Maddie keeps things close to her vest. The farm is basically a safe house for her. She doesn't talk very much about what happened in New Mexico, but she clearly needs the farm as a kind of a safe house. And she's short, a little pudgy, feels defensive about being an animal behaviorist, and a short woman puts glasses on to be taken seriously. But she is absolutely devoted to dogs and ends up risking her life in order to save one. And the one, if I may, the one cool thing I just wanted to tell you about writing fiction and Maddie is as I said, I had the description on paper, right, of who Maddie was. But as I worked through this novel, as I wrote about it more and more, and as I was more like, okay, what would Maddie do here? Because the thing about fiction is anything that happened at any given moment, which is wonderful and a nightmare, because you have to decide. So I was always like, well, what would Maddie do? And so as I was writing this novel, Maddie, it was like, I don't know if you've ever been in a dark room and watched a photograph develop. Maddie became like a developing photograph. She just got richer and clearer and more colorful. And I really like her. I'm very fond of her now. I really feel like I really know her rather than, okay, she's this person and she's that person, and I hope readers fall in love with her too, because she's really cool. She's a really cool woman.
I think they will fall in love with her because I certainly did.
Oh, good.
Um, she's wonderful. So the book is set in the dog world, and your love of dogs and of people, actually, I think it really comes through in the writing. Was it fun to be writing dogs as characters?
Yes. Yes. It was, in a way, that was sort of the easy part, in that, because of what we do and so many of your listeners do, that's the part I know, write what you know. And so it was so fun to create these characters. Her border collie is Jack and her sheep guarding dog is Bo Peep, and Clementine is her little rescue terrier who's, very, very old and mostly sleeps a lot. And Cisco, is a dog she ends up fostering, a German Shepherd. So I feel about them like I do about Maddie, is I'm so fond of them and I could never kill them off. I'm ruining all the plots for the rest of the time. I could dogs die of old age, right? Eventually. Um, so I can't say that would ever happen, but yeah, I really like him. I really like him. Jack is smart and obnoxious. I mean, he's just a classic border collie. He's smart and just pushy and always playful and worried about things. And anyway, I don't know. What did you think of the dogs? What do you guys think?
Well, that sort of
Love
leads us
them.
into the next thing we wanted to talk about, is because I
Mm.
think one of the things that I liked about this book, and I went into it feeling comfortable that this was going to happen, is that
Yeah.
you're able to write them as characters, as realized organisms that sometimes annoy the humans, but without it ever becoming like an interaction that makes me worried. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like the main character could, could feel exasperated with her dog without me going, oh God, is she going to mistreat the dogs? And it sort of, as a positive reinforcement trainer, you're always kind of like, you're putting out this this messaging, right? Like, we're not going to harm dogs. Dogs are okay. It's okay for dogs to be dogs. We can't expect them to be something that they're not, et cetera, et cetera. So just being able to be like, it is okay to be exasperated by your dog's behavior when they do something, X, Y, Z.
I
So I loved that component. It was a very real relationship, I thought.
Chrissy, I love that you said that because I just wrote a blog post on the other end of the leash about giving ourselves grace because we are dogs are dogs and we are humans, and I don't know many people who have never not like gotten frustrated at some point, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's just how you handle it, right, and what you do about it. But that doesn't mean, internally, you're not like, oh, for the love of God, stop barking, right?
Yeah.
I
Or
mean,
when
we're
my 150-pound livestock guardian dog gets up on my bed and I'm like, I think you do actually smell of cow dung. So that's a thing.
well, and I think especially positive reinforcement trainers we need to give ourselves a lot of grace. We really, really do, because we can be very hard on ourselves. Some positive reinforcement trainers can be very, very hard on other people, with a certain amount of positive punishment, right? So it was really important to me to be realistic. I didn't want to set Maddie up as this sort of paragon of perfection because that just wouldn't be believable.
No.
She's human,
And I don't think it serves dogs or people to, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think one of the other things that just came sort of forth a lot in the book was you have these sort of like secondary characters, but they're actually dog cases that you bring in as the cases themselves are secondary characters. And there's quite a few of them that we sort of like, learn about as the story goes on. And I was wondering, did you pull them in on purpose to move the plot along, or is it just something of interest, or where did these come from?
Yeah. Where did they come from? I think they came in part quite a bit to help you get to know Maddie, and to put you in her world, So it was really important to me to create a book in which you were immersed in the setting in terms of the natural setting, the trees and the woods and the bird song. And people have said just the nicest things about that aspect of my writing, which just makes my heart sing because it's really important to me as a reader and a writer. But who is Maddie? What is Maddie's life? I mean, I love, and this is very much a sort of a side effect. I love letting people have a window onto what is life like as an animal behaviorist. So one, it helped move the plot along. It taught you some about Maddie, but certainly not intentionally, sort of as a primary intention. But I mean, one of the things I think a lot of people love, at least I've read this about fiction, is that you often learn about something you know nothing about because it's just woven into the plot, right? I mean, we've all learned all kinds of things, Agatha Christie. I mean, we learned about, Egyptian archaeology. I mean, right? So I love sort of the side channel, the side effect of people learning what it's like to be an animal behaviorist, because I think so much based on the comments I get, and I suspect you have the same feelings, is I've always described it as if people imagine us running through fields of daisies with golden retriever puppies, right? We tell people at the airport what we do, which we don't do anymore because we're not stupid, right? Because what we do is like, oh, well, but so many people say, oh, I've always wanted to do what you do. And I'm just sitting there thinking, I just saw a couple sobbing their eyes out or fighting or getting divorced because their dog bit the face of the neighbor kid. It's just not always puppies and daisies. So I love that people would get an idea of what it's like to be an animal behaviorist, and also, again, who Maddie is. And also it's a murder mystery, but you can't have a murder every other page, right? And and the other thing about this, I love that you called them secondary characters, because every one of my clients in the book, every one of my clients in the book is based on a client. Although I always change it. I always kept people's privacy. But they were all based on maybe a combination of clients I had, or I mean, my favorite are Larry and Daryl and the other brother Daryl. They're based on these guys I saw who had a dog a lot like Harpo. and they became some of my favorite people. And they will, by the way, they will be a continuing character, you know.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
Are you
I
are you
like that.
releasing a detail right now to us?
Yes, they will be continuing in the next book, which I
What?
started. Yes.
Oh, okay. And I know this wasn't amongst our released question list, but Zazie and I were talking about this earlier, and you touched on it, so permission given. One of the
Yes.
things that I liked, and I wonder if this is because we're both farmers, is how you often set a scene or you sort of evoked a scene by using bird sound. And I think it was really effective to me as I think it almost like it sets the scene very quickly, and it gives you, the whole idea. You get a whole body sort of, "Oh, I know what that feels like," because that bird sound is attached to so many other,
Yeah.
like night and, the air is heavy with humidity and that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Or
Was that on
spring.
purpose, or is that just something that you sort of write on? Or
No,
did you do that on purpose?
I love that you asked. It's a very much on purpose. And I mean, granted, I love birds. I do. I absolutely adore them. I have like 7 bird feeders out right now. But one of the things I learned about writing fiction that really puts people there, because that's what I love about fiction is they're escapes. I mean, they're just,
Mm,
we all need to get immersed in a story. Stories is, in my belief, a big part of what makes us human. It's not just language, it's stories. We are a species of stories. And so to tell a good story, you need to put the listener, the reader in that place, right? And one of the things I learned is you need to include all of the senses because so much of what we do, primates that we are, people describe what things look like. And you read, start reading now. You'll read all kinds of descriptions of, there was a red shed and there was a tin roof and there was an elm tree and but you need sound and you need scent and whenever applicable you need touch. So it was very intentional. And some of the wording, I mean, one of the things I love about writing good fiction is that you word craft every word. I mean, every page of that novel was way more than my nonfiction was edited literally hundreds of times. So away to me, the title is indeed, it's a signal to send a sheepdog counterclockwise. But away to me is also a metaphor for Maddie because she's like, stay away. Oh, come to me, please. Stay away. Oh, come to me, please. And Lonely Owl Farm is another metaphor for Maddie because owls aren't lonely. Owls are solitary. Maddie is solitary, but she's also lonely. So using birds sometimes as metaphors was just really, really fun. It was fun.
Awesome. And I wanted to ask you another question about writing because you're talking already about what it's like writing fiction. And of course, you've written so many highly acclaimed books already that are nonfiction, including your memoir, The Education of Will. So I wanted to ask really how many of those skills translated across to writing fiction? What was different?
Yeah, it is much harder than it looks to write good fiction. And as I said earlier, it's great that you have this freedom. At any point in time, anything could happen. Anything could happen. I could make it all up. How fun is that? I could make it all up. And you can't do that in nonfiction, right? The problem is anything could happen. And that means every single sentence you are making choices. And you have to make big choices at the beginning about character development. And you have to learn to write dialogue, which is really hard to do well. And you have to create the overarching, sort of hero's journey plot, but then you have to figure out exactly everything that happens. So I mean, many people who write fiction, even though I'm a first-time fiction writer, I know this is really common, is you write a draft and then you throw those chapters out and then you add that chapter and then you throw that chapter out and then you add 2 more chapters and then you get rid of that character and then you change that character. So I didn't quite do it that way. What I did is the slowest way possible to write a mystery, which you're never supposed to do, is I literally just started writing. I started working with this wonderful woman, Susanna Daniels, at Madison Writers Studio, and I would just write some stuff and then we go over it. And she was like, don't worry about the whole plot. Just start writing. Well, you really do need to know to be efficient, the whole plot of the movie, because you need the whole plot of the book, if it's a murder mystery or mystery, because you need to be seeding, you need to be throwing breadcrumbs out there. You need to go where you're going. So I was way slower at writing this book than hopefully I will be next time. Because I didn't have, you're supposed to start with a really good detailed outline of everything that's going to happen. I didn't know what the heck was going to happen on chapter 4. I had no idea. So I was a very inefficient novel writer, but I learned a lot. I learned a ton by doing it.
One of the things that I appreciate about the book was just how much of a focus there was on friendships. I think it's like a wonderful thread running through the book, and also has like a little side tangent. I think one of the reasons why I'm delighted to hear you're writing another book is because there's something that's almost like a quasi friendship about long running characters in serialized novels. Like you feel like you can go back and get that friendship hit, but it's without the effort of a real friendship. I know a lot of people, a lot of adults struggle to find friendship, especially as adults once we're out of school. I think there's a lot of sort of barriers to it. And dogs are one way that I know a lot of people do find friends. So was this on purpose? Did you sit down and think like, I really want to write a book that showcases friendship?
I didn't. And I love that you asked that question. No, I never had that intention, but it's so important to me that somehow it just came out anyway. I mean, what do we, I mean, we are so social. We are such a social species, and I'm an extroverted introvert. I can be thrilled, giving a talk somewhere, and then I go, and then I go back and like pull my head under a pillow in the hotel room, right? Because I'm so tired. But just what is more important than our connections, than our connections to people? And Maddie was a bit cut off because she had such a difficult experience that she thought she'd gotten over, but obviously turns out she hadn't. But she had two incredibly good human friends. One, George, dies in the first chapter, and Dorothy is her border collie, girlfriend, right? But again, as you're saying, Kristi, it's like many of her best friends were her dogs, right?
Mhm.
So, Jack is like absolutely one of her best friends, and Cisco becomes one of those. And again, I mean, I'm so not objective. It's ridiculous. I'm so fond of these dogs. It's crazy. And I'm really excited about expanding those friendships. And I'll just say now, if I may, that theoretically this is going to be a trilogy. I will remind listeners that I'm 77 and I have 3.5 chapters written for Come By. So the theory is there's a way to me, and then there's Come By, which is send your dog clockwise, and then there's That'll Do, which of course means come back to me, dog. Your work is done. So can I pull that off at my age? I don't know. I don't know, but I'm
Yes.
can't.
Yes, you
Yes,
can.
I think so. You have to.
I hope so because I was really fun doing this publicity for the book. And the best part of it is like talking to people like you. I mean, it's really, really fun, especially people who know the dog world and who know writing. I mean, Zazie, your books are just astoundingly great. You know how much I love them. It's so true.
Thank you.
So that makes it extra fun. So it's incredibly joyous to talk to you and to do other podcasts. But I am hungry to get back to working on Come By because they're going to be continuations of old relationships, but there's going to be some new relationships. And I will just tell you, Maddie, Maddie stays pretty much in her lane, but there's some new characters who are going to come in to Come By. And I'll just say there's some interesting men, and I'll just leave it at that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. I am thrilled to hear that this is the first in a trilogy. That's amazing news. And I feel like to some extent you're talking about what motivates you already, because obviously your love of the characters and of the story, the characters, Maddie and the dogs, is obviously part of what motivates you. But someone in your position could have just chosen to retire. You didn't have to choose to start writing fiction. So what made you, what motivates you to write and to keep writing fiction?
Yeah. Oh boy, I mean, I'm not even completely sure. I can tell you that superficially, I knew I knew I needed to retire from seeing clients. I literally felt too slow. Um, I just felt too slow and too old. And it was getting really hard. I mean, I had some medical adventures, so it was getting really hard to me to travel around and sort of do big seminars. So I needed to retire from that. I retired from teaching at the university, which I loved doing, but was a tremendous amount of work, the way I designed the class, although again, I love doing it. But as I said, I love to write. And I wasn't ready. And I'm pausing because I want to say, is that because I have ADHD? I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't ready to do nothing. And I love to write. And I literally took this up, honestly, as I said, this was just fun. I was going to do this. I just sit down and I'm just going to do this for a while. And then I got really into it. And then, speaking of ADHD, I got really into it. And then it got harder, but more challenging, and harder, but more fun. And then I just got swept away. I just really got swept away. Yeah.
I'm so glad you did. Produce this wonderful book, and obviously 2 more to come, which is very exciting. So Away to Me will be out on February 24th, and it's available for pre-order now, wherever books are sold, wherever you like to get your books from, you can order this from. And we like to end our interviews by asking our guests to recommend a book that they've been reading recently and absolutely loved. So what book would you like to tell us about?
I chose a book a friend of mine just gave me called The Salt Stones by Helen Y. Brow. I think that's how you pronounce it. This is a book about a woman. It's kind of a memoir. It's a woman who lives on a farm in Vermont. She has sheep and is very involved in restoring the land and creating all kinds of opportunities for people to do that. Obviously, there's a lot that goes on. It's very communally on this farm. But it is, talk about writing about place and setting the scene and making people feel like they're there. I mean, it starts with her arm up to her elbow, up a ewe, trying to figure out how to untangle lambs. And anybody who's raised sheep is like, been there, done that. She puts you there just beautifully. And her writing of the land and the animals and her connection with the animals and her love for her animals, it just shines. There's no mystery, there's no big drama except for life in the country, which is very dramatic inherently. It was literally a page turner for me. And so I think people who love animals and love the land and love exquisite writing will really love this book.
I like the sound of that very much. Thank you for sharing it with us. And thank you for joining us to talk about Away to Me. I've loved hearing about it because I absolutely loved the book. I couldn't put it down. I'm going to hold this gorgeous cover up again too, because it's a really lovely, lovely cover. Kristi and I both have our advanced reader copies, so you can go and pre-order your copy now. And I also want to let listeners know that the Animal Book Club is coming back, and this will be the book club choice for March. So hopefully you will like to come and read that along with us. And if people want to know more about you, they can go to patriciamcconnell.com, where they can find details of your book tour as well, and the bookstores where they could come and meet you, and how to get signed copies, I believe, as well. Is there anywhere else you would want to send people to?
No, you just go to my website and you can learn where I'll be speaking and, how to pre-order. I guess pre-orders are hugely important to publishers because that's how you get a bestseller list. So those are always encouraged. So I'm just so grateful to be here. I so much admire the work of both of you, and it's just a joy and an honor to be here. So thank you for having me.
Well, I think we're incredibly lucky and very privileged to have you join us. And we always love talking to you. And I'm going to include a link in the show notes to our conversation at BarkFest as well, in case people want to go and listen to that recording too. And today I'd like to give a special shout out to our listeners in Calgary, Alberta, because it's great to have fellow Canadians listening to the show. But wherever you are, thank you for joining us today. If you've enjoyed this, please tell a friend about it and tell a friend about Away to Me so that they can enjoy hearing about it too. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Positive Posting Conversation. If you liked this episode, please subscribe to the show and write us a review via your podcast app. For the show notes, visit companionanimalpsychology.com. This show was produced by Zazie Todd. The music is Melody from Paris by Studio Le Bousse. See you next time!